Hello, my name is Violeta Kogalnicianu. I'm Head of Energy Efficiency and Infrastructure Unit in the Energy Community Secretariat, and today I would like to talk to you about energy infrastructure and its framework. You wonder why energy infrastructure is so important? Just think about it. You have lighting in your house, you have heating in your house. How do these electrons and molecules of gas come to you? Through infrastructure. That's why energy infrastructure is the backbone of the economic development. And in the infrastructure is no less important. Today we are going to talk about a regulation, number 347, adopted by the European Union back in 2013 on guidelines for trans-European networks. The regulation was also adopted by the energy community through a ministerial decision in 2015. And what's most important also about the regulation, it talks about projects of energy community interest. Many times I've been asked, what are these? Well, these projects of energy community interest, in a nutshell, PECHs, are energy infrastructure, electricity lines, gas pipelines that may connect a contracting party to another contracting party, or even a contracting party to a member state. Nevertheless, not all energy infrastructure that connects a contracting party to a member state can be labeled as project of energy community interest. This is a label. The label comes for this category of projects only if the same project has been prior to this labeled as project of common interest in the EU. And then what do we do with the other projects? Aren't they important? Yes, they are very important, and that's why the Energy Community Regulation introduces another label which is called Project of Mutual Interest. These are regional projects that connects a contracting party with a member state, but could not get, for different reasons, a label of projects of common interest in the EU. The Ministerial Council also decided that these second category of projects, projects of mutual interest, should be treated almost equal as the projects of common interest and the energy community interest. Therefore, it passed a recommendation the same time with a decision where it indicates that the same treatment should be applied to both categories, projects of energy community interest and projects of mutual interest. Today I'll be talking about this, but also about the highlights of the Regulation 347 and some messages to take away. Now, which are the highlights of the Regulation 347? They are related to permit granting. The regulation brought into the EU and the energy community a process of permit granting that is simplified, streamlined, time limited. And this starts with setting up, nominating a national competent authority, a one-stop shop. In the energy community, that should have been done by 30th of June 2017. This can be a new body, this can be an existing body with enhanced competencies. The competent authority should issue a comprehensive decision on permit granting, and the comprehensive decision should be one of the three variants that are proposed by the regulation. It could be an integrated scheme where the comprehensive decision is issued solely and legally binding by the national competent authority. It could be a coordinated scheme where several authorities issue legally binding decisions, granting decisions, permitting decisions, and in a coordinated way supervised by the competent authority. And last but not least, it could be a collaborative scheme, which is a variant of the one above, and where the more collaboration efforts are needed to bring up a comprehensive decision. It also talks about participation, public participation and transparency. And for that, the regulation also makes it obligatory to have a manual of procedures in which the competent authority or the government that publish it on its website explain the whole process of permit granting, the whole process of application for permit granting. And this makes it simplified for project promoters to apply and get the permit granting within the time limit. That should have been also published before 31st December 2017. And also in the transparency and public consultation process, the Manual of Procedures highlights the steps for public consultation and the minimum requirements for public consultation. One of the highlights also of the Regulation 347 is the energy system-wide cost-benefit analysis, which is a methodology to calculate the net present value or the internal rate of return of a project for the society at large. Therefore, it implies the benefits or the losses of the producers, the suppliers, and the consumers. And this is a methodology that the European Association of the Transmission System Operators in Electricity and Gas had to prepare, and the Commission had to adopt it. The regulation also introduces risk-related incentives that a regulatory authority can award project promoters. This can be the premium over the weighted cost of capital, a shorter depreciation period, a longer regulatory period, anything that will facilitate a project that is riskier to be built. This methodology that highlights all these criteria for awarding these incentives should have been prepared and delivered by the regulatory authority before 30th of June 2017, another milestone. The regulation also talks about financing of these projects. Of course, financing is really important. For the projects of energy community interest and also for the projects of mutual interest, there are a number of instruments that stay at the disposal of the project promoters. For the Western Balkans countries, we have two instruments. One is the IPA, National Funds, which is an instrument for pre-accession, and the other one is a regional multi-beneficiary IPA fund called WBIF, Western Balkans Investment Facility. For the Eastern Partnership countries, we have the NIF, the Neighborhood Investment Facility. All this can give technical assistance support for feasibility studies, pre-feasibility studies, investment analysis, studies for environmental impact assessment, you name it. But it also can give incentive grants, so investment grants when needed. Now, in a nutshell, this selection of projects of energy community interest and projects of mutual interest, it's not done randomly. It's not done without any process, without any criteria. On the contrary, the process is quite complicated, and you can see in this diagram how the process looks like. First of all, the project promoters have to submit their candidates to the Energy Community Secretariat in a format that is already predefined. It's a detailed questionnaire. Then the Secretariat, together with some assistance from a consultant, will look into the eligibility. Not all candidates submitted are eligible according to the Regulation 347. The categories are quite clear. They are electricity infrastructure, they are gas infrastructure, and oil infrastructure, and also an area called smart grid. So only in these categories they are eligible, the project candidates. And then the project data validation. Obviously, the project promoter submits the project with certain data, information. Sometimes they are not so perfectly accurate, or sometimes they are not complete, and sometimes they are not consistent. Therefore, this analysis of the project data is the next phase. More communication is being made through this dialogue, we get more data, we get better data from the project promoter directly. Then it goes into the cost-benefit analysis, which is based on market modeling and also on network modeling for the electricity project. So market modeling is applied to both electricity and gas energy infrastructure, network modeling only to electricity infrastructure. Besides the cost-benefit analysis, we also introduce additional criteria that are very important, and this is why the whole analysis is called multi-criteria analysis. You'll see in the next slide what I mean by this. And at the end of we'll have a relative ranking of this project. So the list that we come up after this whole process, it's a list of projects that have been analyzed with the same instruments, the same criteria, the same methodology. Therefore, they are comparable in terms of benefits for the society, in terms of maturity, in terms of costs, in terms of benefits versus cost. And that makes it the process transparent and also neutral from different other interventions. And in this slide, you would see also how rather complicated the process is. What you have to remember that the largest share of these scores come from 100 points, 60 points come from the cost-benefit analysis, which is the most reliable indicator when it comes to the benefits that the society gets from this investment. We have also other additional criteria. It's called enhancement of competition, it's called system adequacy, improvement of system adequacy, and it's called also maturity of the project. So because we want to have priority infrastructure projects developed. So in a nutshell, all this come with some indicators, and the indicators have a score, a range between 1 and 5, which means that the project responds to the criteria in a degree between 1, which is minimum, and 5, which is maximum. And then scoring is also based on weights. So each criteria has its own weight, 60% to the cost-benefit analysis, 15% to the competition enhancement, 15% to the system adequacy, and 10% to the maturity of the project. So all in all, at the end of the day, you will have a score, a list. And this is the priority list that goes to the Ministerial Council for adoption. The regulation also talks about a transparency platform, and this is the Secretariat's task to develop a web tool where all these projects that got the label in the end, they are displayed and they are monitored. So the PLIMA, the Project Library and Interactive Map application, was created in-house by the Secretariat, and it indicates the location, the geographic location of the project information like costs, lengths, capacity, and also the status, which part of the whole chain the project is in. All in all, the PLIMA is a transparency platform, but also a monitoring tool. And we have created it in an interactive map. So when you open the PLIMA, you'll see a map. The map, you click, the map displays all the projects in electricity and gas. You click on the project, it opens a window where you have all the project information status-wise. You can create some graphs and so on and so forth. So this is a tool that we are updating on a yearly basis based on the project promoter's own information. Last but not least, messages to take away. So the Regulation 347 is about simplifying, streamlining the process of permitting. It's about facilitation of investments in infrastructure. But it's not just about infrastructure. You can use this facilitation to build renewable energy investments. And this is really the largest benefit once you create the system for permitting and manual of procedures and reporting, and you would be able to use it for more than just infrastructure projects or energy infrastructure projects. The label itself, it's very important. It indicates the political support, it indicates the priority, the maturity, the cross-border impact, but it doesn't secure the building of the project per se. You need an investor, private or public, and you need a market that requires this project. If people tell you, oh, my project is really, really good, but somehow I need loads of grants to build it, then the project must have something that the market doesn't yet want it, or the project is not yet mature enough. So you have to think, when you need to build a project, whether the market is ready for that. And last message, which is the most important one, is that energy markets, so reform of energy markets and energy infrastructure, should be built in parallel and coordinated, because they are mutually reinforceable. They support each other. Thank you very much for your attention.